Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on the Corvette again, and you might be wondering what are we working on today. So for the past couple of projects you've seen us working on moving the battery, working on that coolant tank and getting that installed. Well, today is going to be the last part of the cooling upgrades. And you might be wondering, well, what else is there to upgrade on the cooling system? Well, I've got it down here. As you guys can see, what we have here is a new heat exchanger. This is not the radiator for the car. This is actually the radiator for the blower. Because you guys know, as the cooling system works, you've got the little radiator underneath the supercharger that cools the air off. Well, it gets cooled by liquid. The liquid goes through a pump, goes to that coolant tank. I'll have a link in the description above for the coolant tank video, and it eventually goes to the front of the car. Well, for it to get cooled down, it has to go through a heat exchanger. So this heat exchanger is actually from Edelbrock. A lot of the Corvette ZR1 guys, this is what they upgrade to, and it's probably, even for the E-Force kit, it's probably the same thickness and same width, but it's literally like double the height. So with this one, we're going to be able to upgrade and have double the space, and I know it'll fit the car. My only concern right now is kind of the intake hitting the top, because the way the Corvette sits, the whole radiator package sits at probably a 45-degree angle like this. Then the intake fits down like that, the actual filter part. So that's kind of my only concern about this project, but this should bolt right in. Now, this is not the Edelbrock supercharger kit. This is a universal heat exchanger. So we're going to have to kind of custom modify the lines for the in and out, as well as the bolts on the side. The way the current heat exchanger works, the hose routing should work out. I may have to go buy some more hose and buy some, basically there's those 3/4 inch pipe adapters. They allow you to connect radiator hose to radiator hose, and you just put a hose clamper on each end. I'm probably going to have to buy a couple of those. I'm anticipating buying that. But basically, I think I'll be able to use the lines that came from the supercharger kit and modify them to fit this. Then for the mounting, the way the Edelbrock E-Force kit actually has one bolt coming out the bottom of the heat exchanger going to the car, and the other two are just held in on the plastic shroud. Like literally, you just drill a hole and bolt into the shroud. So I don't think I'll have to make them bottom mount. I mean, there's actually nothing here to weld to. It's not thick or anything. It's literally actually a channel for the radiator. So I actually have nothing to weld to. So we're gonna have to modify the sides a little bit, not the heat exchanger itself, but that plastic shroud I was telling you about. We're gonna have to drill some holes. Real simple, drill some holes for the mounting system and get this in there. Now, like I said, before I go way far into that, I have to take the bumper off the car, because you might be able to slide this up under there, but honestly guys, I've got to drain the whole coolant system. I actually need to drain it for that tank upgrade, so I might as well just take the bumper off. It's seriously like, I think 15 bolts, something like that, and we'll do a time lapse of that. And we'll get started on this project by getting this bumper off. Alright guys, as you saw, we just got the bumper out. That time lapse probably made it look easier than it was, but one problem I ran into was halfway through removing the bumper, I didn't realize I didn't have enough room to get the cover over this protective foam and the workbench. So I ended up having to raise the car enough to get actually higher than the workbench, peel the top off, peel the sides off, and then pull the bumper cover off. Other than that, really nothing too complex. The one thing that I forgot was right here, there's these two basically plastic push pins that you put in. There's two here and two here on this side. And I forgot to remove those. Are the only thing that I forgot to remove. But to get this out, there's 5 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on each side. And then on the bottom, there's 5 or 6 along the bottom. Take out they're all 7 millimeters. Then again, 5 on the other side. Then you have to reach in the fender, and there's 2 nuts that you have to pull off. These are 10 millimeter, so those are 210. These are all 7 millimeter. All of them on the bottom, except for there's 2 nuts in the bottom. Those are also 10 millimeter. Take those off. And we finally have access to the little Edelbrock Heat Exchanger. And so here we have our E-Force Heat Exchanger. So the bottom comes from the driver's side. That's fine. I think that'll line up perfect with the one that we have. The top one actually is more in the middle. Yeah, see this hose coming from the pump? I am gonna have to basically go buy some extra hose and just hook that up. I'm not gonna be able to use that piece. It's just way too short. But I might be able to use that in another part of the project, so we won't throw anything out. So for installing this aftermarket Edelbrock Heat Exchanger in place of the other Edelbrock Heat Exchanger, that's part of the E-Force kit. The bottom I think will line up, guys. The top, you're gonna have to get some custom hose. Basically, this is just 3/4 inch heater hose, and we will be installing, yeah, there's no way. And we will have to drill probably one more hole on the passenger side of this heat exchanger, of the shroud. It's gonna hold this whole setup up. We'll have to cut a custom hole, but that's fine. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just literally it's a piece of plastic. So probably use a Dremel. Yeah, probably use a Dremel and just cut our way through it. We need to drain this entire system. We're gonna go from the driver's side. It is the lowest point in the system, and it should just gravity drain the entire system. So we're gonna have to get our bigger bucket for this, and let's get started on that. All right, guys, made a little bit of progress today. We got the front bumper off. We also drained the supercharger radiator, and we also got that removed. And here are the 2 radiators. I wanted to get a good side-by-side shot. On the left, the black one is the E-Force supplied radiator, and on the right is the Edelbrock supplied radiator that I just bought. And you can see that just the huge difference in surface area. Now I will say this one is a little bit thicker. That might be 1.5 inches. This might be just about 1 inch. Yeah, it looks about right. So this one is a little bit thicker, but this one is a lot taller. So there's gonna be more surface area on this one than this more compact unit. And you know, you start getting into thickness, height, width. I'm sure that the thinner, taller is gonna be more efficient than the more compact, thicker one, because you're gonna have more surface area for the coolant to go through and get cooled down, instead of it having to go through a thicker piece and get cooled down. So we will have more surface area to cool down the fluid on the Edelbrock supplied one than the E-Force kit. And as far as I know, guys, I am the first E-Force supercharger guy that went with this heat exchanger. I've seen a couple guys go with the Magnuson heat exchanger that comes with the heartbeat kit. You can buy that separate from Magnuson. That was like the go-to like 3 or 4 years ago when that heartbeat unit first came out. So the 01 guys have been using these for probably about 1 year or 2. I know the Magnuson was like the thing like to use 3 or 4 years ago, but you know, things change. Newer, thinner, lighter radiators, stuff like that. And I'm friends with Greg Kong. He runs Kong Performance. He's got a super sick ZR1 that I think is just a modified blower, different coolant, like machined passages on the front of the supercharger, and they pair it with this. And those guys are making like 900 to 1,000 horsepower on the wheel. And I reached out to them, you know, through Facebook or the Corvette forum. I said, hey, you know, what's the part number? Or can you just confirm it's the same part number, the one I'm looking at? Same part number. Now the ZR1 has a slightly different cooling system. You know, they've got, I don't even think the ZR1 comes with an expansion tank. No, I don't think they do, because Faster Proms, Jeremy Formato at Faster Proms, he sells an expansion tank for the C6Zs, ZR1. Kong probably sells one. I wouldn't, you know, wouldn't shock me. But there's a few different cooling packages that you can upgrade on the ZR1. And I'm kind of taking a page out of their notebooks and applying it to the E-Force. Now the E-Force, no one makes like an aftermarket billet cooling rail passage. I think the E-Force just has a slightly better design in that case in regards compared to the stock ZR1 blower. But one of the drawbacks on the E-Force kit is that the super long runners, after the intercooler, they get hot. So I think they tend to have IATs of like 190 or 200, which is super hot. So that's kind of one of the reasons we're doing this project, is to kind of offset some of those really high IAT temps, hopefully with the bigger heat exchanger, the bigger coolant tank, and just kind of doing some of the basic upgrades that the standard GM guys do, like the CTSV, the ZR1, the ZL1, you know, bigger tank, bigger heat exchanger, you know, different heat exchangers other than from Chevrolet. So that's kind of what we're doing here. Kind of what I did on the LSA on the SS. I, you know, went with a custom heat exchanger. This one isn't as custom, but you know, it's same thought processes. Bigger heat exchanger, bigger reservoir tank, and just get that whole supercharger system to run cooler. That's the whole goal. So now that we've gone through this, I have no doubt that this heat exchanger will fit. My only concern is the air intake. I really hope I don't have to come up with like my own air filter system, because I think maybe the E-Force and the ZR1 air intake systems sit a little bit different. I just hope I don't run into a problem. That's my biggest concern. I mean, hell, if anything, I've already got the bigger expansion tank, so we're good there. But that air intake might present a problem. I don't know. I just don't know how deep the ZR1 units go down into that front, like, grill area, because the E-Force, it's pretty straight, and then it takes a 45, and the whole filter is like really wide. So kind of concerned that we might be fighting for space between heat exchanger, the ducting, and that air intake. So let's get this mocked up in the car and see if we're gonna have any issues. All right, guys. As you can see, I have the heat exchanger stuffed up into the radiator shroud. And you'll see this hole that I drilled. I simply drilled a hole, then I cut a square around it, and then I used a round stone just to expand that square into a circle. And the heat exchanger upper port just slipped right in. So that's one good thing. I also want to show you guys the cold air intake from Edelbrock. This is going to fit just fine. We're approximate where that silicone coupler goes. And then if you guys look over here, the filter is not even touching the heat exchanger. It's actually resting on top of what's left of the radiator shroud. So we should be good there. So I think this Edelbrock heat exchanger, the E-Force intake, and the radiator shroud are all going to work out. At least from the top. I haven't seen anything to prove otherwise. So let's show you from the bottom. And here's the view from the bottom. As you guys can see, it goes up into the radiator shroud with no issue. Another thing to point out is I'm actually going to be using the driver's side hose and hole that were initially created for the E-Force. So this I haven't changed at all. All I had to do was drill that hole up top. So this all I think I'm going to work out. Now, the next thing that I need to do, guys, you guys see this threaded bung on the end of the heat exchanger? There's 4 of those. Actually, there's like 8 of them, but we obviously won't be using the top or the bottom. Actually, guys, if you wanted to connect the bottom to the frame rail, you could. You could create a little bracket, connect it to the radiator support. But honestly, guys, I think 4 bolts through the side, here, here, and top and top. I think this will be fine. I really don't think you're going to need it. But what I need to work out now is this upper corner. If you guys can see, the heat exchanger is not sitting very nicely in the plastic shroud. It's like cocked backward. So we're gonna have to work on tilting it a little bit more forward so it's not gonna hit the AC condenser behind it. And we're also gonna have to drill that hole through the plastic for the bung, for the top, bottom. Same over here, top, bottom. Now I'm gonna have a hole in the radiator shroud, and I might fill that in. I'm not sure. What I would fill that in is just with some HVAC aluminum foil tape. So that's what I would use for that. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that just yet. But we have to get those 4 holes drilled and marked out. Then we'll be able to do the final install on this thing. All right, guys, we're pretty much done with the install on the heat exchanger. You will see one thing. You guys see that green coolant coming out of the hose? That is actually the electric water pump. And what I need to do to finish this pipe, this is actually, this rubber hose right here was actually on that water pump. I decided to keep it because it's already got a molded 90 degrees and then it's molded like another 45 down. So it's perfect to come out of the side of the heat exchanger, go down, and then down into the little cavity down here. And I'm going to use this leftover 3/4 inch heater hose, heater core hose, heater hose, whatever you want to call it. It's 3/4 inch. And I actually use this on the SS for part of the running the heat exchanger. So this will simply be a straight piece going down into the water pump. I'm going to use another one of these connectors right here. I'm going to go buy another one. Cut this to length, put that adapter here, put the other adapter in the end of this hose, and bam, we're going to be done. So that's the upper part. And you will see the hardware coming on the top. So you see it there. You also see it down in the other corner. You also see hardware here and down there. And there's one more on the driver's side. So this thing has hard mounts on it in 5 places. 2 on top, 2 on this side, and 1 on the driver's side. Now the reason I went 2 on the top was because the plastic molding for the radiator is actually shaped differently on each side. One side I was able to get the top, so the passenger side I was able to get the top drilled and screwed with a washer. Just the way the E-Force kit is the same way. And on the passenger side, as you guys can see up there, the light's kind of dim, my flashlight's dying, but as you can see, that top bung is literally right in the middle of a casting in the mold. So it's in a 90-degree bend, and there's not much I can do to attach hardware up there. So I decided to go at it from the top, and this thing ain't moving. All right, I'll shake it a little bit, but you see it? It's actually moving the whole car. So this thing is not going to be going anywhere, and this is almost in the exact position that the Edelbrock stock heat exchanger with the E-Force, the way that was mounted. So there's that extra hole right there. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that yet, but so yeah, this is pretty much the final product. Like I said, I still need to finish up that passenger side hose, but guys, this project is done. I had to take the radiator shroud out probably like 5 or 6 times. One was the initial drilling up top, you know, because I wanted to get a good starting point, and that was up top. And then the rest was just getting the rest of the holes the right size. And I also want to point out I'm using the same identical hose and port as the E-Force kit, so there's no fabrication or drilling there. It's just that upper radiator hose up at the top, that the one you got to drill out. I had to drill that out twice. I did the initial hole, but then trying to fit a hose through it, it was too small, plus a hose clamp, so I had to take that back out and enlarge it. But yeah, that's about it. And guys, this heat exchanger is huge. It's the entire size of the radiator shroud basically, but I'm not too worried about this thing not getting heat or getting air through the heat exchanger, because the air will still come up through the grill, through this radiator, through the air condenser, and through the stock Chevrolet radiator. So should be good there. Not hitting the AC condenser on this side. We probably have, we probably have a good inch, guys. Yeah, I think we've got a good inch between the intercooler, heat exchanger, and the air condenser for the HVAC system. So I think we should be good on keeping this thing cool. Alright guys, so I mean that's pretty much it for the cooling upgrades. We did the battery relocation, we did the expansion tank, and we just did the much larger heat exchanger. So I think we're gonna be good. I hope now, I'm not expecting any more horsepower or anything. I'm just kind of hoping that when I'm at the drag strip, road course, whatever, that after my run with this bigger capacity system, with the much bigger heat exchanger, here's the puny little Edelbrock tank, this much larger tank. I hope with all these mods the system will cool down a lot quicker, and I officially have an ice tank, so if I'm running those half-mile events, I can throw dry ice, I can throw ice, whatever, into the coolant system. Now my only complaint that I would say with this entire system would be I still don't have a drain line. Like, well, I guess I don't have a drain line on the LSA either, but that's kind of a flaw. You know, with radiators, you know, there's always that built-in pepcock or petcock, whatever the word for that is, but that would kind of be my only complaint, is like, so you pretty much have to take the bumper off to get to that lower heat exchanger hose, which that kind of sucks. I mean, this car's not bad, but the SS, it's kind of a pain in the ass because you got a huge under tray on that car. The Corvette's just got a front splitter, and that's actually still attached. Yeah, it's just sitting there. But the SS is a much bigger pain in the butt to do. So, but like I said, finally have like a premium cooling system. And you know what, guys? I don't have a ton of money tied up into all these upgrades. The battery relocation kit, we'll count that separate because I would have done that anyway. But the heat exchanger tank was like 130, 140 bucks. Powder coat was $15. That front heat exchanger, okay, yeah, that's quite a bit of money. That was like $600 from Edelbrock, but I used a 20% off coupon through eBay. I ended up getting it for like 500 bucks. It was literally 100 bucks off. So I was like, sweet. So I bought that. So yeah, I guess six or 700 bucks in that. But the rest of the stuff, the radiator hose I had, that coupler, that splice piece, $4 at AutoZone. I need to buy another one of those. So $8 in splices. But other than that, I mean, I think this will be a good investment. And I do want to say that this is not a super hard project. Just getting the kind of re-drilling that shroud was literally the hardest part, because you're kind of like mocking it up, putting it in place, and you're like, is it going to fit? And stuff like that. And there's no instructions on any of this stuff. Like the tank was pretty self-explanatory. There was a really good thread on with a couple pictures. Not how the guy did it, but just the final product. That was easy to figure out. The front heat exchanger was a little bit tough with, just like I said, mocking it up, taking out that shroud like 6 times, and it took a long time. But we're done. Well, okay, minus that one little adapter, but pretty much done. You got to throw the bumper back on and we'll be totally done. But you guys don't need to see all that. You've seen it before. So we are one step closer to getting some half-mile racing with this car. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here. If you guys want to help support the channel, I always have links in the description below. First one is to Teespring. You can get hoodies and t-shirts there. Second link to eBay, stock parts, keychains, stickers, all kinds of stuff on there. So if you guys want to help support the channel, always click those links below, and it always helps go buy more car parts. And it's a revolving cycle. You guys buy stuff, I buy stuff, make content, you guys get videos. So that's kind of how that works out. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Thanks and have a great day.